Okay, so in this example here, we have what appears to be a complex problem. But when you go through the problem and you learn the steps on how to do this problem, it really isn't that bad. So let's go ahead and read the problem, and then we'll talk about how we're going to set this problem up. It says a plane travels 1,008 miles each way from Tyler, Texas to Orlando, Florida. Okay, so each way going there is going to be 1,008 miles, and then going back is going to be 1,008 miles. It says the trip there was with the wind and the trip back was against the wind. It then says going with the wind, the trip took 4 hours. Going against the wind, the trip took 6 hours. What is the speed of the plane? What is the speed of the wind? So they're looking for two things here. They're looking for the speed of the plane and then the speed of the wind. And at first glance at the problem, it's not very obvious, but what are your units here? That's the first step you want to deal with. What are your units? Well, you're dealing with miles. I can see that here. And I'm also dealing with hours. And so they're looking for a speed here. So if you're looking for a speed, that means the units are going to have to be based upon what they're giving you. So we have miles and hours, meaning our speed is going to be in miles per hour. Okay? So what we're going to say here is the following. We have two unknown variables. X will be speed of plane. Okay? And then we'll say y is going to be speed of wind. Okay? Now, both of these variables are going to be in miles per hour. Miles per hour, right? So how do we set it up? Well, what I recommend you do is work with the units and then go from there. So they give you miles, they give you hours, okay? Well, we know that when we go with the wind, the speed of the plane is going to naturally increase. All right, so for example, if I have the speed of the plane, x, and I'm going with the wind, that's going to increase my overall speed. So I'm going to say plus the speed of the wind, right? What will that be equal to? Well, remember your units here. This right here is going to be in miles per hour. This right here is also going to be in miles per hour, okay? And so what can I set it equal to? Well, going with the wind, it said it took 4 hours. So if I set this equal to 4, that doesn't really make sense because I have miles per hour plus miles per hour equal to this right here is hours, right? Well, what happens if I set it equal to 1,008? Well, let's try that. If I set it equal to 1,008, this right here is going to be in miles. Does that make sense? I have miles per hour plus miles per hour equal to miles. My units don't match up, but you're close here. So let's go ahead and get rid of all of this here, and we'll talk about how we're going to set this up because it's fairly simple once you know how to. We're simply just going to say equation 1, x plus y. All right, so that's going there. I'm going with the wind. So the speed of the plane plus the speed of the wind is going to be equal to the total distance, 1,008. Now we have an issue here. We already talked about it. Both of my variables are in miles per hour and 1,008 is in miles. How do we take care of that? Well, if I put this in parentheses, right, and I put the 4 on the outside, what ends up happening? Remember, this 4 is in hours. X and Y are in miles per hour. So just off to the side here, if I do hours times miles per hour, what ends up happening? Well, the hours will cancel and I'm left with miles. Meaning when I distribute this 4 inside, I'm going to be left with miles plus miles equals miles. We're good, right? The setup is good. So we're going to do the same exact setup for going against the wind. All right, so getting rid of this here. We're going to go against the wind now. I'm going to say x minus y, because now I'm going against the wind. It's going to take away from my speed, right? So x minus y now will be equal to, again, it's going to be the same distance, 1,008. Now we want to put this in parentheses. How long did it take? Well, it took 6 hours, okay? So you actually have two equations here. You have equation 1 and equation 2, and we can solve it by using a system of equations. Now, before you go ahead and distribute this 4 inside, the 6 inside, think about an easier path you could take. This 4 is being multiplied by everything inside. This 6 is being multiplied by everything inside. So what is the opposite of multiplication? Division, right? So I could actually take equation 1 and divide both sides by 4, and then I'd be left with x plus y on the left-hand side. I can do the same thing on equation 2. If I divide everything by 6, I'm going to be left with x minus y on the left-hand side, and then the problem's pretty much done, because then you can use elimination, and the y variables will cancel out, and you'll be good to go. So I'm actually going to create a new set of equations here by dividing the first one by 4 and dividing the second one by 6. So my new set of equations are going to be x plus y, and now you just have to do 1008 divided by 4. When you do that, you get 252. Okay? We're going to do the same thing on equation 2. We're going to divide everything by 6. I'm left with x minus y here, equal to, again, 1008 divided by 6. I get 168. Okay? So look, you're all set up for elimination here. All I have to do is an addition problem. And when I do that, my y's will cancel. So x plus x will give me 2x. So 2x equal to 252 plus 168. That will give me 420. Okay, so just writing it up here, we have 2x equal to 420. My last step, divide both sides by 2. When I do that, I get x is equal to 210. Now, what is that? Well, that is the speed of the plane. So the speed of the plane is going to be 210 miles per hour. Okay, now we have to figure out what the speed of the wind is. From here, we just substitute it back in. Now, here's the cool thing. You don't have to substitute it back into these equations up here. Okay, you can go ahead and substitute in to these equations that we have right here. Right? And that's going to be way easier. So let's go ahead and do that. So it does not matter which one you plug it into. I could plug it into this equation here or this one here. It really doesn't matter. I'm just going to plug it into that first one. So x plus y equal to 252. So for me, based on what I found, my x is 210. So I'm going to write here 210, right, plus y equal to 252. So in other words, all I have to do is minus 210 on both sides, and I'm good. And I'll get my y value, which is going to be the speed of the wind. So when I do that, 252 minus 210, I get 42. So y is going to be equal to 42, right? So y is equal to 42. And again, that's going to be miles per hour. And that will be the speed of the wind. Okay, so there you go. We just found the speed of the plane and the speed of the wind by doing a system of equations, right? So once you understand how to do this problem, it really isn't too bad, and there's all different kinds of variations of this problem. So if you set it up that way, you'll get it right every single time, and that's pretty much how you do it. So if you found the video helpful, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. That would be greatly appreciated. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you get more math videos in the future, and I'll see you in the next one.